I said at the time. I do, so let me email her back.
I'd like to call the April 17th meeting of the West Des Moines City Council to order and invite you all to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please sign in. And I will say that Councilwoman Hardman had a meeting that ran late, and so she is on her way, and she will be here momentarily.
Did we get it?
So everybody signed in?
Four members present.
Okay. Ryan, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Your Honor.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, item 2, Citizens Forum. Anybody here that would like to address the council on any item that is not either part of public hearings or new business, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and we'd ask that you keep it civil and respectful and within 5 minutes. Is there anybody in the chamber that would like to address the council for Citizens Forum? Okay, seeing no movement, I'm going to go online. Anybody online that would like to address the council on Citizens Forum? Please hit *6 to unmute yourself. Again, they make fun of me, but I'm going to say it. It's *6, not #6, not #6, but *6. We've had people that have had a hard time unmuting themselves, and they've missed their comments as a result of hitting #6. Okay, in the time that I just rambled, I hear nobody for Citizens Forum. So Citizens Forum is closed. I'm going to move to item 3, Mayor, Council, Manager Report, Other Entities Update, and this time I'm going to mix it up and start with City Manager Tom Head.
No report, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. The Friends of the Library had a great event at Raccoon River Lodge, and it's just always good to see so much support of the West Des Moines Library, and what a great crew. So definitely appreciative of that. That happened last week. We've had a couple of F&A meetings since our finance administration meetings. Have been talking about a lot of stuff, certainly a lot of bond measures, certainly a lot of construction projects underway when it comes to financing those as we expand our city to the southwest, whether it be Stagecoach, whether it be over off of Cascade on the southwest and Ward 3, Councilman Lotz. Certainly lots of construction going on. Had the opportunity to talk to a lot of different residents as construction season got started, because I don't know if you all have gotten calls, lots of digging going on, because as we know in the state of Iowa, there's 2 seasons, there's winter and there's construction season, and here we are, and as we emerge from hibernation, guess what? We start digging a little bit, but it's great to speak to the fine folks of West Des Moines, because you know what, they have concerns, but they also have a growing amount of excitement because our conduit project is continuing to expand, and there's a lot of exciting things coming up as we begin and enter this construction season. Probably see some potholes fixed as well. So that'll do it, Your Honor. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for your report, Councilman. Councilman McKinney.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing at this time.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Trevelyan.
Nothing this.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Lotz.
I just want to thank Councilman Hudson for bringing up the pothole issue, because you all know how much I hate potholes. But I am excited tonight for tonight's agenda, and really nothing other than that to report on. So thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilman. With that, I'm going to move on to item 4, consent agenda. We will pull, I know we've got some folks here for the National Library Week proclamation, so we will pull that item, which is 4N1. The Minority-Owned Business Day, I'm going to read April 21st at the Black and Brown Business Summit, so we will not pull that, or the Earth Day or Arbor Day celebration, unless anybody wants it. Any other items that any council person would like to have pulled?
4M.
4M as in mom.
Mary.
Mary. Okay. Okay, 4M. Any other items? Otherwise, I would take a motion to move the remainder.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote. Okay, item 4M, resolution for the approval of the amendment to the policy for roadway naming and addressing. Councilman Trevilian.
Yeah, I don't quite understand why this is coming back to us. I thought we had a policy out there. But I think if we're going to make changes to it, that it needs to be something more stringent, more truly honorable as far as maybe military service, war hero, something like that. So.
Sure. Councilman Trevilian, we had a discussion about this at the Public Safety Subcommittee meeting a couple weeks ago, and I would love to invite Audrey Kennis, who is already up here, to share more about her presentation, and I'm sure she will share some more, and then we'll happy to discuss it some more.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. Audrey Kennis, she, her pronouns, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here for the City of West Des Moines. So we propose a couple amendments to the honorary street renaming policy. One, to create greater transparency, I would say. Two, to specify within the policy some of the things that were a little unclear. As you may remember, in the fall of 2022, we had a couple applications that were presented. Some of those road designations weren't clear. We said we would have it go from collector to collector, but there's a lot of ambiguity in that, so the staff and myself met to try to create some defined specifications for that, so it would go up to a mile. Now, we didn't change the components regarding the historical or cultural influences or significance, which I think is what you're getting to, Councilman Trevilian, but it was to create greater definition around length requirements as well as sign location, and I would say logistics.
Okay, again, I would thought the previous ordinance was pretty clear on all of that, so I don't.
I appreciate that. And again, it came up, this was some feedback we received from some previous application that was submitted, which brought us back to, again, the review of this policy to make sure things were much more clear, because there was some back and forth as to what this really means, how do we specify it, and ensure that we're being as transparent as possible when applicants or residents submit an application. So we wanted to put some guidelines around that length requirement. So it's not, again, maybe going 3, 4, 5, 6 miles, but there's a specification of a mile. And again, it can, if you all deem necessary as a council, but we want to put some parameters around it.
But a mile's a long way. I mean, again, I thought that the other one was pretty clear that it was the distances that was going to be covering. I don't.
So the previous, as you can see, policy said collector to collector, and it doesn't designate what that is, right? And so it doesn't say if it's a mile, it could be 10 miles. And so we're trying to give some clear guidelines. A mile may seem far for some, and again, it may not be. We looked at a lot of other city policies across the region, across the Midwest. There's a lot of, I would say, variety. Some have no specifications as far as that length requirement. Some do. Some say a block. Some say a mile. Some allow you to go as far as you would like. But we wanted to make it as clear as possible on the front end to applicants what that means and define that.
Kevin, if I can share a couple things that we were talking about, but Councilwoman Hartman, if you wanted to. Okay, sure. So when it comes to the distance, when we were chatting about it, also our impression, as Director Kennis was talking about, collector to collector across the city, that can mean a number of different things. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the maximum collector to collector is in the city of West Des Moines. I don't know if that's 1.5 miles or a mile, but some collector to collector might be quite a bit smaller. So the discussion when it comes to length was just, hey, maybe up to 1 mile, because that could cover the collector to collector. I think the second thing that I think was underlying the conversation was, let's just go ahead and say, let's just use Valley Junction for an example. So we got 1st Street, we got 8th Street, and then I guess west of 8th Street, I don't know what a collector would be considered before we even get to, I guess, the Hy-Vee at Grand. But in any case, what if there's an individual or someone who was making a difference, so to speak, between 12th Street and 4th Street. Well, that's not collector to collector. And so this allows us, to, instead of collector to collector, allows the city a little more flexibility for up to a half mile, and then that up to up to a mile. And if there's more than a half mile, then of course there'd be a couple more signs. But to really get to the heart of how long do we want this stretch of road to be, rather than almost being hamstringed into one specific collector to collector, which might not fit the desire of the folks who are hoping to be applying for this particular signage, so to speak.
Doesn't this still say that? It says generally, because it's, if I'm reading this correctly, you're bolded is what your amendments are. Generally shall begin at a roadway designated as a collector or a higher designated street and end at the next roadway designated as a collector or higher designated street.
And that second part, the multiple segments may be combined. I think that's the part that really expands it.
If you look at it, we had, as Audrey said, we had 2 applicants put in applications, and
I think there was
obviously
only one, but
Well, I think there was 2 that came in. We ended up pulling one from the agenda when the applicant asked for it to be pulled. But they both, number one, were looking at the same stretch of roadway. One was looking at 1st through 8th, one was looking at 1st through 14th, and neither of them made sense with the policy at that time, or at least it was ambiguous. And because if it's collector to collector, then the one that did 1st through 8th should have been 1st through 5th or 5th through 8th. And the one that did 1st through 14th should have been 1st through 5th, 5th through 8th, 8th through, 14th? So basically, and with this ambiguity, I had asked to bring this back to a council subcommittee to work out the details and specify what it was to include, rather than to have the council make a decision on one or both of these applications with this ambiguity in place. And so now we've gotten rid of that, and it's much more clear what we can do. And I didn't think that we should make a decision without first amending the policy. As far as changing the policy in the future, right now we've got 2 applicants that are sitting there on file. If we want to go back after we consider these applicants, these applications, and look at making this more stringent, I'm happy to do that. I think your point's well taken on that, Kevin. But right now, we've got 2 applications before us, and we need to firm up this policy, take a vote on these applications, and then revisit it.
I'm also a little confused as to, because initially this started with, I believe, Development Services. Is that correct, Lynn? So why is Audrey now the one that's driving this? I'm just curious.
I asked Audrey to work on this. We had several discussions about it, and so I asked her to work on this and to help usher this through the subcommittee process. That's why.
And I think that's a great question, Councilman Trevilian. And again, I would say, and I'm by no means a planner by trade, but I do have a background in planning. I'm not taking away from the incredible work that, again, Lynn and her team have also done as well. But looking at the history of planning and our requirements according to the AICP, something we're always trying to be mindful of is making sure it's reflective of the communities that we serve. And so I shared my thoughts, my opinions as to how it is written to make sure we're being as inclusive as possible of the residents that live within our city, and that there's as little ambiguity as possible, so we don't run into further issues or roadblocks that could emerge in the future. And so I think we need to be as clear and specific as possible to restrict any other, or any possibility, I should say, of any, confusion as to what this means.
Well, and again, though, I think, and I appreciate that, Audrey, but again, Russ, to your point that, you want to get this moved forward and then maybe go back and revisit it. To me, that's just kind of ridiculous. If we think we need to be looked at further, then let's look at it further globally, because this is for the entire city of West Des Moines.
We came up with a policy over a number of months. We took quite a bit of time to review it. We brought it forward. We voted on it. We put a policy in place. After we did that, we had 2 applications come in based on the policy there. We realized we needed a slight revision to the policy to clarify what the policy meant. but we're not going to have a wholesale change to the policy while we have 2 applications in place. That's on us, that's our fault. Maybe we shouldn't have voted on the policy and put the policy in place, because we did that and we opened it up to applications and 2 came in. So we're making minor revisions to get rid of the ambiguity in the policy. What my preference would be is to vote on these 2 applications, not take any additional applications. And after this, we'll look at potentially taking it back to committee if you think it needs to be more stringent and working on it further. But I don't think at this point in time it's fair to either of the applicants to stop the whole process and go back through at this point. There are some small tweaks that need to be made. Let's make those. Let's listen to these applicants, vote yea or nay on their applications, and then move forward. With that, can we sign in since Councilwoman Hardman's here, and then she'd like to chime in as well?
Absolutely.
We now have 5 members present.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hardman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to comment on the discussion, albeit that I missed part of it. But I want to, first of all, thank Audrey for helping to lead the charge. Audrey is a city employee that is asked to do a variety of things, and that she is collaborating with others as regards to this. I don't care who's working on it. I just want someone to work on it, period. Whether that be you, Lynn, or anyone else in the back. Because we've been at this process for quite some time. And we've had applicants who have been in the, what do I want to say? In the waiting hold pattern until we do what Mr. Mayor has indicated that we should be doing or should have done. And the time is now to either vote this up or vote this down. I think this policy allows for a high degree of clarity, and it eliminates ambiguity about what collector to collector means. And so that is our role and our job, is to try to allow us to move forward where there's not a whole lot of guessing games. And we've had applicants that have been pretty patient and have been given ups and downs and false starts and all of that for months. And at some point, we need to decide and make decisions as an elected official, if this is in the best interest of this city. And 1 mile is a mile. And when you're talking about honoring folks that have made significant contributions to a community, what is 1 mile? What is it? So I just like to strongly, and you can tell I feel strongly passionate about us really trying to make a decision. I sat in the Public Safety Committee meeting with Councilman Hudson when this was discussed at length in a variety of ways. And so I am in support of this. I think the process is being fair and transparent. We have applicants that have been waiting, and we need to make, at some point, a decision. And I appreciate the work that you've done, Audrey, and helping bring this forth and helping us move forward.
Thank you. And thank you for your questions, Councilman Trevelyan, as well.
All right, Councilman Trevelyan, do you have additional questions?
I've just got one. It's,
Okay.
and it's under 3.61433. Why did it get struck out that all all property owners adjacent to the roadway, subject to the honorary naming, are not going to be notified?
So they will, okay, where are you at? 3.6, which one?
3.6.14.3.3.
Okay, let me pull up the one that you're looking at. Okay, so here, we are asking that there be a public notice to all residents along that roadway. So it is, again, I think allowing for greater transparency, back to what we said before. I think oftentimes folks may sign something without knowing what they're signing, and so we're giving residents the opportunity to bring forth their support or their questions or comments that they may have. So it's not taking it out. So we're still acknowledging and again, putting out some type of public notice to the residents.
And I think this was a good example of the clarification, because the stricken portion said, we shall notify all property owners adjacent in a very, very general way. But then the replacement language says, to allow no less than 30 days, you shall mail notice of the subcommittee meeting. So a very, very specific language to really remove the ambiguity that you were speaking about. So, and that's why.
And I also heard when there was a process by which people were trying to walk around with petitions, and I heard personally from residents that they had no clue what they were signing. They just knew that something was presented to them in the front, and they were signing something. They didn't quite know what it was. They just knew the person wanted them to sign it. And I don't think that's a really good process either. I think public notice, allowing people to be informed, and allowing people a period of time to voice their concerns versus these pieces of paper walking around, depending on who's doing it. People don't quite know what it all is. It's really kind of an archaic way to show support.
And that was a question, Councilman Trevilian, that was a question that I had at the subcommittee hearing. And so my question was very specifically, overall, will this change allow for more residents in the area to be aware of what's actually happening? And I think the mailings are going to be a better way of doing that than what it was before. And so I think that's why that clarification was made. And so thank you for everyone for making those clarifications very, very clear in the language.
Russ, one more question. Why would you not take more applications after this?
Well, because you just voiced the concern, and I would tend to agree with you that we want to look at the policy after, we've got two in the queue. Let's dispose of those however we're going to do that. Vote them up, vote them down. Then if you want, I said, let's take it back to the committee and take a look at making it more stringent, like you were just saying on the dais. But I don't think it's fair to do that right now when the applicants that we have submitted the application after we approved the policy, to have wholesale change to that. You know, minor changes, amendments that are needed to clarify things, that's great, and that's what we just did. But to have a wholesale change and put this on hold and then come back, we've already got two applications in queue. That's on us. We should have been more confident of our policy. We should have been more secure, more okay with our policy before we voted on that and took applications. But we took the applications after we passed the policy, and so I don't think we should have a wholesale change with these two in queue. After these two are disposed of, however they're disposed of, then let's take a look and make it more stringent. I'm agreeing with you in that regard.
Okay.
Any other discussion on 4M?
Thank you.
If not, we need a motion and a second to approve 4M.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, please vote.
Four yes, one no.
Okay, moving on.
Mr. Mayor, to be clear, that was just
That was just approving.
specifically for the policy
Policy
amendment. That
amendments.
wasn't for anything more than that. That was just,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct, yep. And now we will consider the two applications. If they so choose to move them forward, we will dispose of those, and then we will bring this back through for review.
Thank you.
Yep, and we will not take any more applications until that is done. Okay, moving on to item 4N1, National Library Week. We have got a proclamation for that I would like to read, but first I will ask if there is a motion and a second to approve 4N1.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and now I will read. National Library Week 2023 proclamation. Whereas public libraries provide the opportunity for everyone to pursue their interests and passions and engage in lifelong learning, allowing them to thrive and excel. Whereas public libraries have long served as trusted institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender, identity, income, social class, or socioeconomic status. Whereas public libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the people they serve and ensure service and access for all. Whereas public libraries adapt to ever-changing needs of their communities, continually assessing and evolving their collections, services, and partnerships. Whereas libraries play a critical role in the economic vitality of communities by providing internet and technology access, literacy skills, and support for job seekers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. Whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that promote a sense of local connection, advancing understanding, civic engagement, shared community goals, and common ground. Whereas libraries are cornerstones of democracy, providing a neutral venue for the free exchange of information and the respectful exploration of differing viewpoints and ideas for all. Whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now, therefore, I, Russ Trimble, Mayor of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, do hereby proclaim April 23rd through the 29th, 2023 as National Library Week, and I encourage all residents to visit their library to explore the wealth of resources available. And with that, I would basically ask you guys to vote. I'd ask, is there any discussion first? Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
And with that, I would ask Daryl Eshtay, our library director, and anybody here from the library board to come on up. And I want to present this proclamation to you and have you take a picture with myself and the council. Okay, okay. I don't know anyone. We will take a picture with you.
Looks like Chief Wu looks like he's just trying to take a picture because he spot somebody in trouble and he steps forward.
Wow, good. Very nice. That's
It's still in effect. Thank you, my friend. Okay, with that, we'll move to item 5, old business, item 5A. I'm sorry. 4 and 2. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss one? 4 and 2? Nope, I just pulled 4 and 1, is that correct? Okay. Because 4 and 2, I'm going to be reading on April 21st at the Black and Brown Business Summit. So I'll be, yep, not a problem. You guys keep me in check. Okay, item 5A, repeal assigned zoning district south of Raccoon River and east of Interstate 35, amend the zoning map to repeal assigned zoning designations on properties which are inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, land use designation, development services staff. We've got an ordinance for approval of second reading, waiver of the third reading, and adoption in final form. There are no outstanding issues and no changes from the previous reading, which was adopted unanimously at the last council meeting. We did have a thorough and extensive discussion on this item, followed up by questions and answers via email. If there are any other questions, I would first ask for a motion and a second to approve the second reading, and then we'll take those.
Motion to consider the second reading?
Second.
Okay, so moved and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I just appreciated at the last council meeting, like you said, a robust discussion on this item. And as a follow-up to that, I sent an email with some several different questions on it. And so I just wanted to take a moment to thank Lynn and Linda and Karen and Jessica and whoever else may have been involved in putting those together. I know there was a lot of time that was put into answering those things, but I am hopeful that as I put in a responsive email, provides a broader, more common understanding as to what exactly is being done here, and that we can all look back on in the future for purposes of, if there's any need for clarity. I'd also just say I appreciate the willingness of folks to consider adding, as identified here in item 5A, adding a statement to the zoning map indicating that individuals should also review the comp plan land use map, and so on and so forth. So thank you for that addition. Thank you for the additional information and for, your patience in working with me to help better understand these issues.
Well, I appreciate your questions and constantly challenging us to take a look at this and make sure that we have the best comprehensive plan possible. You know, you're the chair of our development and planning, and you really delve into all the development issues and work through all the issues that come up, and you've got a great head for this stuff, and I really appreciate all the questions that you asked and the discussion that we had last time, and I think including that statement in there is going to be very helpful. So, and thank you to staff for putting up with all of us and researching and coming up with all the answers that you provided us. You know, comprehensive plan is extremely, extremely important. You review it once every 5 years if you do it right. This plan has taken us 3 years. It's been so intricate, and there's been so much work involved. So it's an important thing that we do, and it's worth spending the time on. So thank you, Councilman. Okay, any other discussion on this before we vote? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Motion to approve the second reading.
Okay, is there a second? Who seconded?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
It was me, I couldn't get my mic on.
Five yes.
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, item 6, public hearings. Item 6A, this is the time and the place for a public hearing to consider Stonecross Lawn and Landscape, 3410 Southeast 22nd Street. Amend the zoning map to rezone the property from Professional Commerce Park to Light Industrial Zoning District, initiated by Stonecross Properties LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 31st, 2023 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 7 yes, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the rezoning request.
Okay, anybody in the audience who would like to address the council on item 6A, please come to the podium here, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, please hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Okay, seeing no movement in the chamber, anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We've got an ordinance for approval, the first reading. There are no outstanding issues, and this came through Development and Planning.
Move approval.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, item 6B, this is a time and a place for a public hearing to consider High Point, generally north and south of future Stagecoach Drive, extension between South 81st Street and the future extension of South 85th Street, amend comprehensive plan developed areas land use map, and amend the zoning map to establish land use and zoning appropriate for single-family residential, medium-density residential, and high-density residential, initiated by High Point Group LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 31st, 2023 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 7 yes, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the comp plan amendment and rezoning request.
Okay, anybody in the audience who would like to address the council on item 6B, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, seeing and hearing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution and an ordinance which we need to take separately. First, we've got a resolution for approval of the comprehensive plan, developed areas land use map amendment. There are no outstanding issues, and there's just one condition of approval regarding the fact that the sanitary sewer, which is sized according to the 2010 comprehensive plan land use map, may need to be upgraded based on future land use, and that the applicant will be responsible for their proportion share of those upgrades. And with that, can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve resolution.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So how will the rest of the sewer get upsized?
And with that, I'm looking to either Lynn or Brian. They're trying to wait each other out. Brian, move first.
That's so funny.
Brian Hemasath, city engineer. Could you ask that question again?
Okay, so who's going to, if the sewer isn't the correct size,
Correct.
who pays for the rest of it? If they're going to pay for just their portion of it, is other sewer needs to be upsized as well?
It's more the pro rata amount of the upgrade. So they would pay their fair share of there's like 2 places that need upgrades. So they would pay their pro rata share.
Why wouldn't
Of
they
those
pay for
upgrades.
everything if they're requesting it and they need bigger sewer?
Because of all the area, there is certain areas that are higher than others or over what the requests are. So anything that's over the amount, we basically have a formula where we're making sure that everybody pays their pro rata share.
But the sewer's in.
No,
It's not in.
no,
Okay. I thought it was already in. And we
not the upgrades. Well, the sewer's in, but there are parts of it that aren't
But in order to upgrade it, you got to put in bigger pipe.
correct.
So that's my point. Who
There's-
pays for the rest of it down the way? Because if this gets rezoned and something else, the city's going to end up paying more than what we've already laid out, right?
Okay, first you were both waiting each other out. Now Lynn is here to join in as well. I want to give her a chance.
Collaboration and teamwork.
That's it.
I got your back.
Tag team.
Lynn Tweed, Director of Development Services. So this is the super block area that with the 2010 comp plan, a majority of it was assigned residential estate. That is what the sewers were originally designed for. So they were designed at a lower capacity. As we have properties coming in now, some of them are truly upzoning quite a bit. So the Jordan Ridge development right along Jordan Creek Parkway and Stagecoach there, they have 2 high-density pieces on there now that they originally were planned for residential estate. So that increase in density, to what Brian is talking about, they are responsible for that increase in production waste that they're going to produce and what that cost is then to oversight or to improve the pipes within this larger area. So the pro rata shares are going to those individuals that are upsizing or up density in this area. High Point, in fact, already had all of these land uses. So unless they do something drastic to really increase the density over between now and final development, they really don't have any kind of cost in this. But because we don't know exactly, we don't have approved site plans, we are putting that condition on everybody in this super block area. But it really will fall to those properties that are going from that residential estate that we previously had into that higher density, generally high density land uses. Those are the ones that are causing that trip point for us. So-
Okay, but if they do require bigger sewer, they're going to pay, according to Brian, their pro rata share. So the city's going to have cost involved in upsizing it as well as,
Yes.
and that's my point. Why wouldn't the developer be required to pay the entire cost of it? Because they're the ones requesting this and needing the bigger sewer. Why would the taxpayers of West Des Moines have to pay for sewer that's already there to then throw that away and put something else in?
It was determined with that sewer study, some of the sewer was put in at too flat of a elevation, so it's not going to produce the way, or it's not going to have that capacity that it had before. That is the cost that the city feels that is really on us to do, is kind of fix what was not put in quite right the first time. Everything else, that extra capacity that's needed, like I said, goes back to these landowners that are upsizing or increasing the need for that capacity.
Okay, now you threw even a bigger wrench in this. So if we know that there's sewer out there that's not going to function properly, why did we ever accept it? Why didn't we go back on the contractor that put it in to fix it so it flowed right?
And I think
That's-
when it was put in, it was all put in with RE land uses in mind. So it worked fine when you had a lower capacity that's going through there. Now that
And-
we're upsizing, everything needs to be increased, or it needs to be fixed in that sense.
But that should go 100% to the developer that wants it, that needs it.
well-
I mean, am I the only one that sees this, that the taxpayers of West Des Moines are paying for something twice?
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I'm not sure that the taxpayers are paying for something twice. I mean, I'm almost kind of looking at this like I'm looking at Thornwood.
If we've already put a sewer in that would function
Right.
just fine for single family, and that's what it was intended for at that time,
Right.
the taxpayers have paid for that.
Well-
Now, they're going to throw that pipe away and put it, wait, you're shaking your head no, Brian. How do you not,
I don't,
Come on
how do
back
you
up,
not throw a
Brian.
pipe away? If you need a bigger pipe, are you going to get the pipe stretcher? I mean, I don't,
Pipe stretch.
I'm just asking, how do you upsize if you're
Putting in
not?
a parallel sewer. We'll install a parallel sewer. And we're only going to put these in where it's needed, if it's needed. We're setting it up so that we make sure that we have capacity if when the entire super block is built out, we want to make sure we have capacity. And if we don't, we want to make sure that the folks that are increasing that capacity pay their pro rata share. That is what we're doing.
I still think the developer ought to pay the whole share of it. I mean, somebody online got something?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Jared Murray, Civil Design Advantage, 4121 Northwest Urbandale Drive in Urbandale. I think to Lynn's point, this High Point property is already comp planned for the single-family, medium density, and high density. So it's not, from my understanding, it's not our responsibility to upsize sewer when it was the downstream properties that are looking for that higher density land use. Is that correct, Lynn and Brian?
I don't know, I didn't quite follow what you said. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you want to come up.
Dave, come on up. Give us your name and address for the record.
Mayor, City Council, Dave Harmeyer, 4001 Quail Park Drive, West Des Moines. I'm here for High Point LLC. So our comprehensive plan had these exact zoning designations when we bought the property. So we knew the property was worth more money because of that, because it came with that. And the city sets up this district, I've never heard of it called that, but they set up a super block, I guess. So when they did that, there's going to be a hookup fee for us for sanitary sewer, water, everything else. So if we change the densities, which we're not, I don't think. I mean, it might be a small amount, but I don't think we are. I think we're actually going to be under the densities that were allowed. So we don't have a need to increase the sewer from our perspective because we're fit right within the system the way the system was designed. So if we were to say go to all high density, then I think what they're saying is there's going to be a charge for that. But I don't think they're probably going to know what that charge is today if you're one of the first few guys in or people in to develop. So they'll have to come up with some kind of an escrow system to do that. Or if they really know it, then they'll have them design and put in the parallel pipe like Brian mentioned. So, so from that perspective, we wouldn't have to. If we were all single family and going to the higher density, then we would have to pay for the additional charges.
Okay.
Any questions for me or? Okay.
Any
Thank you.
questions at all for Mr. Harmeyer? Well, I appreciate the robust discussion. That's exactly what I would expect up here. Kevin, I appreciate the questions and digging into it. And Lynn and Brian, I appreciate you tag teaming this to come up with an answer. Basically, what we're trying to do is cover ourselves, that if someday this is needed, this is on you, developer, and you're going to pay your pro rata share. We're just trying to cover ourselves. But I totally understand what Kevin's saying as well.
yes, this is simply a CYA for us.
Yeah.
So we have something to go back to and say, we told you from the very beginning, when you asked for the upzoning, this was a potential consequence. So that's all this is.
Okay.
Just to confirm what was just spoken, so if there are some other folks in the super block who make high-density decisions, for example, there will be fees associated with that because that will require an expansion, and that will not be on the taxpayer. That will be on the developer who is upbuilding, so to speak, and thus fees will be associated with that. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Maybe not fees, but they're going to have to pay for their share of.
Yeah, I mean, the terminology aside, but yes.
There'll be a tipping point. Once we understand how everything's going to develop, we'll have a better idea of do we really need to make increases in size, or can we handle it with the capacity we have? So again, this is a CYA to make sure, put people on a notice that this is a cost that you may have. My understanding is Brian's group will be bringing forward at some point in time, what is this program for this cost? How do we do this? Is it putting money in escrow? How are we going to handle this in the long run? That piece still needs to come forward to you. I believe that's still being worked out, but this is a way to put all of these developers on notice that this area as a whole has increased in what people want to do, largely in part to DMU. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate you making sure that we're covered, and I wanted to make sure that I read it out loud so that any developers know that in the future, you have higher density. You're going to have to kick in and participate here. So, okay, thank you. Appreciate the questions, appreciate the answers. Any other discussion before we vote on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Motion to consider the first reading.
Wait.
Oh, I'm
Wait,
sorry.
I'm sorry, hold on a second.
That was the resolution.
Yeah, resolution.
I was ahead on that.
Okay, all right.
Motion to consider the first reading.
No, hold on.
We passed the resolution.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep, yeah,
Go ahead, Doug.
I was ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, motion to consider the first reading.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion on the ordinance? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 6C, this is a time and place for a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the FY 23-24 operating and capital budgets initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, did you please read the date the notice was published?
March 3rd, 2023 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comment to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody from the audience that would like to address the council on item 6C, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit star six to unmute yourself. Okay, MJ, welcome. Please give us your name and address for the record, my friend.
Yes, MJ Hug, 413 2nd Street.
MJ, you know how to run the tech better than we do at this point.
Well, I tried. So, look at you guys making campaign promises that you're actually keeping, lowering property taxes. That's got to feel good, right?
For sure. Now, if the other people that levy property taxes will work with us, we'll be in business.
For sure, yeah. And you know what? Hey, it makes sense as politicians. Right? Complaining about taxes is basically a national pastime because everybody hates taxes. And Mr. Mayor, I particularly like that when you make that promise, you talk about ensuring we do it responsibly. Thing is, I'm not really seeing the responsible part, so I'm going to go over why it looks irresponsible to me, and then you guys can tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay.
So, yes, property taxes are going down, but our debt is going up, up, up. It's nearly tripled in the past 10 years. The per person debt has more than doubled. That does not seem like a sound long-term strategy to straddle us with a whole bunch of debt. Next, our roads. We have some really good, solid roads here, but we regularly need go begging the state and federal governments for handouts to build them. We've heard from Brian that we are underfunding road maintenance and that we may need to accept a lower condition, a lower quality of road to continue with the budget that we have. So, just the occasional extra pothole. We've got a long way to go before we're anywhere near as bad as Des Moines, but that's not a direction that sounds good to head. We have some great parks, and between the Recplex and the pedestrian bridge and the other Five Waters projects, you guys have some real hat hangers, but we can't actually afford them, so we got to go taking that hat around, begging people for money, and particularly selling ourselves to corporations. And frankly, our parks should be for people to enjoy, not corporate billboards. But billboards are apparently all we can afford. And in fact, we're running on such a threadbare budget that we've changed the overtime policy, where it used to be people, if staff took a vacation day on Monday and then they ended up working 40 hours because just, there's that much work and they got to put it in, they at least got paid overtime for that extra 8 hours that they worked. But we've changed the policy. They no longer get that overtime, so they effectively lose a vacation day with no compensation. It kind of incentivizes the city to overwork the staff because it doesn't cost any extra anymore. And there's staff hostile policy that'll make it harder to attract and retain the incredible and dedicated talent that we have thus far enjoyed employing. And frankly, I think that policy is just plain less fair. So when I look at all these things, I'm left wondering, how is the ballooning debt, underfunding road maintenance, being unable to afford our parks, and taking it out on staff responsible?
Okay, you ready for me?
Absolutely.
All right. First, it is reasonable because we're making sure that we're able to fund everything that we need to fund in our budget. You talk about the debt. We've been smart on leveraging ourselves to grow the economy and create jobs here. We've got 5 Microsoft data centers. Right now, we've got Ginger East and Ginger West. Each one of those data centers has a taxable valuation of $318 million. We're in phase 2 on Ginger East and Ginger West. We've got 4 more phases on each one of those things. When we issue debt, we make sure that we have the revenues to be able to cover that debt, and so we're very responsible in doing that. We are AAA bond rated, so we get the lowest interest rate on debt because we run the city so well financially. When you look at the roads, we are putting more and more money towards road maintenance every year. We've done that basically since I've been here. We've got an incredible pavement management program, probably one of the best in the metro. We're going out and testing all the roads. We're doing PCC patching where necessary. We're doing asphalt overlays when it's required to do that. We're filling the potholes. We're getting to them on time. Our public services is working overtime to get that done. When you talk about quality of life amenities, yes, we've got game-changing quality of life amenities, and we've got more on the way. You talk about the billboards and the promotions and all that stuff. Absolutely. I will name the urinals in the Recplex if somebody wants to contribute the money for that. And I'm going to tell you why, because the taxpayers can't afford to pay the full bill for all of these quality of life amenities, and they shouldn't be asked to pay the full bill. So we've raised $13 million on the Recplex. We've raised almost $3 million on the bridge going over the river, the Athene pedestrian bridge, and we're going to continue doing that. What else? You talk about overtime. The policy, we understand, was not being implemented correctly. So,
Interrupt you a second, right?
Yes.
We haven't, because of the public safety stuff, we haven't
Okay.
changed that yet.
Okay, so we've got no change on that, so that's null and void. And then I do want to say, though, on city staff and how hard they work, we make sure that we add additional FTEs, which this budget does. Looking at that and making sure that we can afford it as we're adding these employees. We look at doing a salary survey to make sure that we are paying our people what we should be paying. We did this just recently in the public services area where we were losing some snowplow drivers to Urbandale, and we raised the pay on that. So we are always making sure that we're staying out there on the edge of this to make sure that we are paying our employees what we should be paying them. That said, they are invaluable, and we probably can't pay them what they're worth. Okay, anybody else? Renee?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for your presentation. I mean, this is citizen engagement at its best, actually, that you're also bringing your PowerPoint slides. I will say I'm an HR professional, and I know about FMLA and overtime laws, and it does require, the law only requires you to pay, and now that it's, even if they're going to change it, that you pay overtime on hours worked. And someone that's gone and on vacation for a day is not hours worked. The law just requires you to pay overtime if they've worked over 40. So I just want to dispel that myth that it leads to staff being overworked. I think this particular West Des Moines tries to encourage their employees to have a balanced life and to take time. That's why they have such a very nice benefit as it relates to that. But as a person that's been in HR for over 40-something years, it only requires you to pay overtime on actual hours worked, not while you're on vacation.
Sure, but we should be setting the example for the feds, not adhering to legal minimums.
Okay.
Like
That's
Councilwoman
just my
Hardman
opinion.
said, I really appreciate your engagement, always paying attention, coming to all the council meetings. You ride your bike here. I really appreciate it, MJ, and I appreciate the compliments you gave us, and I appreciate you, holding us to what we need to be doing and making sure that we're taking a look all around at everything that we need to do here. I will tell you this, I'm proud of the 5-cent reduction that we've got in this budget. People are working hard to make ends meet. We've got senior citizens on fixed income, and with the inflation, their incomes are just, their spending power is going down. We've got young families trying to make ends meet, and so we got to do everything we can to be responsible in that regard. The assessments you just saw went up across the state. The assessors are just doing their job according to code, but the housing market has been really hot. And so we're doing a reduction here, and I look forward to doing another reduction next year to try to negate the impact as much as we can of those increased assessments.
I want to add one comment quick. MJ, I really appreciate your attention to detail, and I really appreciate how you come to all these meetings and you engage in all the things that you study. The thing that I'll add to what the mayor said and what Councilwoman Hardman said is at the finance administration level, the subcommittee level, we scrutinize the dickens out of everything that gets spent in this city. Councilman Hudson and I, before it ever gets here, the city manager, city attorney, our director of finance, we've got some bond issuances coming up. They probably got 30 questions from me over the last week about these things. And you don't see it here at this level, but we really, really push them. We push the group on services. In engineering, Brian Hemeseth back there, how many emails have I asked him about different bids and does this look right to you? And does that? I feel confident in this nickel reduction, and I'm happy with the level of services we're able to maintain because we do push staff to operate very, very efficiently. I wish that other levels of government higher than us pushed as much as we do because they'll raise the taxes and everybody else will see a property tax increase, but we're the ones that are actually working to lower it, so I'm proud of that. But thank you for your engagement. I actually appreciate your presentation too and the amount of time you spend here. I wish everybody cared like you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Councilman Trevelyan, do you have anything?
I don't know if there's anything I can say that hasn't already been said. I mean, yeah, you're on top of things, and I just appreciate your input. You came to the budget meeting, stayed here all day, and you're definitely paying attention. So,
Very
thank you.
exciting meeting, yes. Actually, so, Mr. Mayor, since you mentioned
Yes, sir.
the 5-cent reduction for that grandma and grandpa on their fixed income, that amounts to about the price of 1 cup of coffee per year. So
You know what? When I
Every
got
little
here,
bit helps.
I know, that's it. I mean, when I got here, the tax rate was $12.05 per thousand, and after this vote today, we'll be down, assuming it's going to pass, down to $10.90 per thousand. It didn't get there overnight, and we're not going to get down overnight either. We're going to do this little by little as we can afford to, as you said, as is responsible to do so. And if it's an extra cup of coffee for grandma and grandpa, then it's an extra cup of coffee. But we're going to keep working as hard as we can.
It's more the significance of saying we run an efficient government in my mind.
Sure.
Because that's really the only campaign promise I made to anybody when I ran was that I would be a good steward of their tax dollars. That's the only campaign promise I'll ever make. And this is that. So whether it's $4 or $400.
Yeah, or 500,000 for Microsoft for that whole dollar that we come down.
Doesn't matter. They have 60 or 70 jobs at each one of those data centers.
Well, and I will say this, and we have had a conversation about, continue to be aggressive on our economic development, but be smarter in some of our deals. And we're going to continue doing economic development. We're going to continue growing the tax base, bringing companies in, creating jobs. But we are going to be, we're going to scrutinize these things more going forward, and we've had several conversations about that as well. So you bring up a very valid point on that.
And while we're on that point, MJ, again, everyone was very, very thankful for your due diligence, and you came with a presentation. Really, really appreciate that. If I can just share about my first, 3.5 years on City Council, and so I just made a quick list. I mean, an entire new Grand Prairie Parkway, 2 new Ashworth Road bridges, a new Public Works building, an Athene pedestrian bridge is on its way, the Richard Heert Amphitheater right over there, the West Des Moines Recplex, the Boathouse, a new fire truck specifically for our city that can fit between all the apartments that we have. Those are 8 enormous expenses just in the last 3.5 years. I don't think, I can't guarantee anything, Mr. Mayor, but I don't think we'll reach that level of, and why we really are AAA bond rated is because of good financial decisions made by previous mayors and previous councils. But also, all of that spending did lead to more debt, and I appreciate the chart of the debt, but so much of that debt is an incredibly low interest rate. In fact, if we were to do all these projects starting now for the next 4 years, instead of a 2% interest rate, a 4-5% interest rate or higher, it would be really, really rough in a lot of ways. However, I want to give credit to previous councils, of which Mayor Tremble and Councilman Trevilian have certainly been on for 10 years plus. I know Renee has been on the council for 6 years. I want to give them a lot of credit because decisions they made in the past led us to this moment where, yes, that debt spike has gone way up, and I agree with the mayor that I don't think we're going to be doing those giant projects, at least not to the level that we've seen just in my first 4 years in city council. I think it's going to go down a little bit because I don't think we're in a place economically, we're not in a place as a society when it comes to overall interest rates, supply chain issues, overall cost. So I foresee that probably going down, but thank you for showing us.
And we don't approve those bond issuances and that debt without a significant amount of scrutiny and a plan in place to make sure that we can pay for it. And we talk about all those different contingencies, but that number makes it to the full council. It happens in subcommittee. But know that we do it, so thank you.
And I'd like to say, too, I think it is a best practice for municipalities to seek funding from organizations and corporations that want to assist. You know, every dime they give is a dime that a taxpayer doesn't have to give. And they're enjoying having those amenities here because they have employees that work in these same cities that they have headquarters offices at. So it's a really win-win. And we need to find more partnerships to help carry the burden and lighten the load for our taxpayers because these are amenities that their very own employees are enjoying as well. It's the best practice.
Very good point. To that end, I've got my pledge sheet, my pledge card here for the Athene pedestrian bridge that I'll be donating tonight, $5,000.
What are you waiting for? I already did mine.
Well, I'm slow, I procrastinate. But I appreciate that, and I would encourage everybody out there that's watching this, everybody in the audience, to pitch in and donate to quality of life amenities, as you can.
Thank you, Russ. That's awesome. Thank you for that. MJ, I'll add just a little bit. And first, thank you for the presentation tonight. Thank you for the presentation of the Bicycle Commission, 10 days ago. Just for some additional, hopefully, comfort, because I know you come to these meetings, but there are some other things that weren't addressed or, there's some additional items I think are important to emphasize. One, you highlighted the debt, but also one of the things that we have in our materials that are distributed, part of our budget hearings, is the valuation per resident. And when you look at the valuation in the metro area, we have some of the best valuation per capita in the state. And so that goes to our ability to pay off the debt. The second is, as Councilman Lodes talked about, there is a plan. And a lot of that is part of agreements and contractual legal obligations with folks that are developing through minimum assessment agreements to provide assurances that we're able to pay them off. And how do we know that those are good practices in addition to that AAA bond rating that has been referenced? For the 23rd year, the city has the Government Finance Officer Association Distinguished Budget Award. So that's kind of another third-party validation, if you will. They also have the Certificate of Excellence in Finance Reporting for the 28th year. And this goes to the work that Tim and his team are doing. And then you just look at what's happening in the marketplace. And when PFM gets on the line, every time we have a bond offering and they talk about, this is incredible, the city of West Des Moines, we haven't received a rate this low, right? And folks that are out there in the marketplace evaluating risk, and they're evaluating our risk as being so low that we're able to achieve the lowest rates, which helps ultimately save taxpayer dollars on our debt service. So again, I appreciate your question. I just wanted to point to a couple of additional items that have been shared.
Oh, and a conduit network that was also a ninth big project. Again, just to throw one more thing, that was at a 1.65 interest rate. At inflation at 11%, that's us saving 10% a year, right? It's probably not that easy, but I just wanted to share that too, because conduit network, also a big project. But thank you.
Well, we appreciate you, MJ. I think you understand that from the comments that everybody made, and we appreciate sparking this robust discussion tonight. We will continue to be responsible in cutting our taxes and do that when we can, and we will make sure that we're providing high-quality city services at the same time, and great parks and rec amenities and everything else, and make sure we have transparency so the citizens see what we're doing. So
Thank you for your
thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you, MJ.
Okay, anybody else that would like to address the council on item 6C? Anybody online? Okay, hearing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. And we've got a resolution approving the FY 23-24 operating capital budgets. There are no outstanding issues. And I was going to note that we're reducing the tax rate, but I think everybody sees that and understands that now.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? I can't imagine. Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 6D. This is the time and the place for a public hearing to consider the construction of Southeast Adams Street from Veterans Parkway to Southeast Aurilla Road. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 31st, 2023, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody from the audience who would like to address the council on item 6D, please come to the podium. Give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, please hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, seeing and hearing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. We've got 2 resolutions and a motion, which we can take at the same time, and there are no outstanding issues.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 6E, this is a time and a place for a public hearing to consider the 2022 channel repair program initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 31st, 2023, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody from the audience who would like to address the council on item 6E, please come to the podium. Give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We've once again got 2 resolutions and a motion, which we can take at the same time, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 6F. This is the time and the place for a public hearing to consider the 2022 medium renovations program initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 31st, 2023, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comment to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody from the audience who would like to address the council on item 6F, please come to the podium. Give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, hearing and seeing no one once again, I will declare the public hearing closed. We've once again got two resolutions and a motion, which we can take at the same time, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's a moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 7, new business, item 7A, Plattus Survey parcel 2023-21, 831st Street, approved Plattus Survey to create a 0.35 acre parcel for future development, First Street Limited Partnership. We've got a resolution for approval and release of the Plattus Survey. There are no outstanding issues, but there is one condition of approval, that the applicant and the property owner acknowledge that this is being done only for the splitting of the lot, and that the applicant and future property owners remain responsible for any public improvements required on the property. With that,
So moved.
okay, is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 8, receive, file, and/or refer. We've got nothing to receive, file, or refer. Item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that any council person would like to bring up for the good of the order? I would note that thanks to Deputy Director Jamie Letzring and our legislative committee of Councilman McKinney and Councilman Trevilian, we are tracking legislation every day, and we've got a legislative update that's on the dais. Okay, Councilman McKinney.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I held off, but I want to say first, thank you to everybody, the city staff, and Tom, to you, for the work you did on this last budget. There were a lot of complicating factors over the last several months. You know, there are things that are beyond our control. Things like what the legislature did earlier this year on the rollback that were a curveball, but you worked through it. Things like, the continued, roll away, so to speak, of the backfill, and we're continuing to absorb those things. At the same time, the costs of doing business, I recall during the budget hearing, I think I heard Chief Scott talk about the price of gas over the last year. And we went from $349,000 in expenses to $732,000 in just gas alone as a result of that. Of course, we've seen it in the concrete and all the other work that's happening. So you've had a lot of pressure where we haven't been able to get the funding or the commitments made at the state level. We've had increased costs, but despite all of that, you found a way to balance the delivery of services, the quality of life projects, public safety, and at the same time, being able to reduce the levy rate. So I just thank you for all the work that went into it. I know, like I said, there are a lot of curveballs, but we came out really well in the end, so thank you.
Absolutely, very well said. Councilwoman Hardman.
Oh, just kudos, and I just wanted to share, too, that I want to thank Christine and Clyde for a lot of the information that they've provided to me regarding the Affordable Housing Week. There is a panel discussion this week. I'm going to participate in on that, but tons and tons of things that we're trying to pay attention to with regard to affordable housing. So I'm really, really pleased with the information that I received, and I want to say thank you very much.
Anybody else for any other matters? If not, I would just say don't forget about the Black and Brown Business Summit on April 21st. Should be a great event. So, okay, and with that, we're adjourned.